So scalping is a topic that these days gets a lot of interest. People want to scalp. They want to have that quick win, that quick trade that makes money for them. They want to be able to like trade in a limited amount of time and make money quickly. And that means that there's a lot of, first of all, misconceptions about scalping and a lot of people doing it wrong or expecting to be working wrong. And we've done a training a few months back inside of our Design Trade Academy where we teach people how to become profitable traders. We kind of go in depth with them. That was just a quick training about scalping, trying to spotlight the realities of scalping and what best practices you should follow for scalping. I hope you will enjoy. Again, this is a paid training. I put it here for free for you guys. Definitely comment in the comment section below. I would appreciate to hear your thoughts on this. And we'll dive right in with that training on the art of scalping.
You know, when we put our topics together, and most of our topics, quite honestly, we get our feedback from everyone, you know, the members, mostly through Slack. So, you know, keep those ideas coming, and we review those, you know, all the time. You know, when we put together our weekly meetings, our sessions of what we're going to talk about, you know, sometimes we say, all right, how about you take this one, Etienne take this one, maybe Alex take this one. But when the scalping one came up, I leaped across the desk and said, no, I'll take this one. You know, like this is one where I was hungry to take on. So it's something near and dear to my heart, but it does have its caveats. So we'll talk about that now. So Alex, if you have the slide, and for those who are just listening to audio, you could watch the recording, but there's not a lot of slides. It's just sort of a visual guide, so it can kind of a cheat sheet for me to walk through. So don't worry, there won't be a lot of charts or anything like that. So, you know, we get a lot of questions about scalping, and you know, we have different types of academies and stuff, but scalping is the one that consistently comes in. Like, you know, can I make money scalping? Or, you know, I heard you scalp, Mike. You know, how can I do that? You know, I called it the art of scalping because it's not necessarily, there's a science, but there's really just an art to it. And my goal here today is to give you some takeaways where you just say, let me absorb this, chew on it, and see if it maybe plays a role not only in my business plan, my trading business plan, but does it really meet my personality? And quite honestly, I'm hoping for many of you, the answer is no, and I'll explain why. So, you know, I don't want to get into like how we define scalping and how we're not, because everyone will have a different opinion. But generally speaking, I will define it, at least for the context of what I'm going to talk about, is your trades that you open will be closed by the end of the trading day. And, you know, if it's FX by 5 p.m. or whatever, you know, benchmark that you use. Okay. Different people have different definitions, but for our purposes, we'll talk about that, where you're basically flat going into the overnight. And it applies to any type of product that you trade. So, you know, why would we consider such, you know, a different type of methodology, which is different than most people? Well, for better or for worse, you often have a trade on. I mean, if you have enough underlyings in products that you're looking at, chances are there's a setup that you will have an opportunity to trade. I'm always a big believer in most of trading is waiting. It's patience. We get paid to be patient. I quote that a lot. But you know, it's nice to have your hand in the cookie jar sometimes, and it, you know, has the potential of generating, you know, revenue for your account. So to grow your account. So you often have a trade on. For those who need to have something in engagement, scalping certainly will suffice that. It also, again, you can chip your way to a target or reduce a bad day. It's kind of a two-part bullet, but sometimes, you know, when there's nothing showing up, no opportunities in your swing trading strategies, usually there's something always going on opportunities-wise in the scalping, and you could actually have a decent day by just kind of having 3 or 4 scalps that you chip away at, you know, like small gains, and next thing you know, you have a decent day, okay? Or if you have a couple of bad trades in your regular account, maybe a scalp, you can scalp a few and, you know, kind of salvage the day, maybe a little down, but it's not this like really, really, really bad day. That happens a lot with me, where, you know, just the trades don't work out, but some of my scalping just kind of, you know, dulls the damage, so to speak. The third one, and this is why you should consider this scalping in your arsenal, is it is a great engagement tool. It forces you to look at charts. It forces you to identify potential setups, and you can pass them by, but it's a very good engagement tool. Where sometimes when I swing trade, I check the charts in the morning or early in the week, and I know which ones I'm going to monitor. And that's pretty much about it. Put them on alert, and if they trigger an alert, I'll go back to the charts. Scalping, it's chart time. I mean, you're constantly being engaged, and you get the opportunity to look at patterns and things like that. And if screen time is part of your development, which I encourage everyone to do, scalping is a great opportunity for you to get more screen time. So it's a great engagement tool. Now keep going down to the left. Why not? Why? And I'm going to come across here as sort of, leaning towards not to get involved in scalping if you can avoid it. One, we need to redefine wrong. All right. So, and by that, I mean, if you're in a trade, I'm a big believer in giving yourself some room for the trade to work out. All right. Preferably where price goes to where you're wrong. I mean, clearly, if price goes all the way against you to a certain point where you're stopped out, the trade didn't work out. In scalping, the trade really hasn't had a time, maybe even time to develop or really show the outcome, but you could already be stopped out. Okay. So you're redefining wrong as it's got to work now, immediate, or I'm out. Okay. So there's a lot of times, and this is the second bullet, it will test your emotions. Most of the trades that you have losing trades in scalping ultimately may have been a winner. But again, tight stops, it's got to work. It's got to work now, and it's got to work before it goes south on you. Okay, so it's going to test your emotions. And quite honestly, when you're tested in those emotions, revenge trading pops up. You start adding bigger size to, quote, make up for the loss. All the bad things happen. But one of the things I do when I do my trade journal audits is, what were your results? How did you trade compliance-wise after a series of 1 or 2 losing trades? All right. If they're scalpers, it's one of my number one risk identifiers. How did you do? A lot of them go into that sort of make up for the previous loss. Because let's face it, maybe only, 4 or 5 pips to make up for that loss. So you don't have this big mountain to climb. And you try to do that, maybe add a little size. And this is where the problem with scalping comes into play. You will certainly test your emotions. Don't have any glass near you because you'll probably break it. I hear a lot of responses where I like scalping, and I always ask, why do you like to scalp? The sort of rush is immediate. The outcome is immediate, right? And I sense that there's this need for action because, like I said, we're paid to be patient, but sometimes I find people need the action. Like trading to them is actually trading. Well, my response to that is, you need action? Go get yourself a fast car. I mean, this business should be boring. All right. We've talked about this in the past. The other thing I want to bring up is the cost of scalping, right? Whether it's commissions, slippage, whatever. There's a lot of scalpers who I've seen have positive results, but at the end of the day, they're negative for the month. And a lot of that is because of the cost of the particular, the cost and price of scalping. It's relatively very expensive. Okay? So I want you to consider that. So let's move to the middle column. And trust me, I want to hear your feedback, everyone, as well. If, on scalping, whether you tried it, what reaction you have after we talk about this. But the reality is, I want to put myself in a position where I have an edge, a positive expectancy, and all I have to do is just rinse, wash, repeat. All right? How do I get my edge? Through strategies and good risk management. I'm terrible at picking direction. Absolutely horrible. 50-50 at best. But the reality is, and I've been coaching this for a long time, the reality is I know very few professionals who scalp successfully. In fact, I don't think I've coached someone who has scalped successfully for a long duration. All right. There's about some of them that are now, or in the past 5 years, have really made a name for themselves personally, but it's usually in combination with a scalping and swing strategy. But an actual scalper, they're tough to find. Okay. It's the commissions, the slippage, and just the emotional test that we talked about plays a role eventually in scalping. Also, the bankroll plays a role as well. So I want you to think about that. If you want to pursue this, or if you're doing it and you want to continue doing it, do I want to get into a space which there's very few professionals who actually do it successfully? Me personally, I want to be in the camp where it has a positive expectancy. A lot of people are successful at it, and I'm just going to kind of join the ride. All right. Next on the bottom, acceptance. You have to, part of being a successful scalper is this I call small ball success. You're not going to have a lot of home runs. In fact, one of the challenges right up there with testing your emotions is we talked about getting stopped out on trades that ultimately work. Well, just as painful as you're going to have winning trades where you have your target and you're out and they keep on running. Okay. Now, scalping could have a trailing element to it, which is fine. I do that a lot. I'm very selective with it. But really, scalping is taking the crumbs and run. Taking the crumbs and run. Get out, get out, get out. Okay. So some people have a tough time adjusting to this small ball success. Even with the P&L as positive, they just feel like they, and I use the term, leave too much on the table. In fact, one of the biggest areas of work I still need to do is I leave too much on the table. And that's because of scalping targets. Okay. I've kind of accepted it, but it still burns me up. Right. And again, the targets will be hit without you. If you take your stiff targets, your quick targets, future targets, they're going to be hit without you. And quite honestly, there's ways to combat that. And, we could talk about that as far as just moving on, closing your trades and just moving on to the next trade. But, it can be very, very frustrating. And if anything that comes out of here, the takeaway is you can see, and I'm trying to bring to light the psychological elements and challenges of scalping success. So let's go to the third column, the requirements. So this is what I feel you need to have, whether you have this talent or skill set, or you're willing to put in your development plan to develop it in order to be successful at scalping. 1, check your ego at the door. All right. This has nothing to do with picking direction, picking price and which way it's going to go. You are executing a plan, and including the next column, flawlessly. Okay. You're just executing a plan, getting in, getting out. Okay. And the biggest problem I see with scalpers is they have a really, really, really good month. And it's usually followed by disaster because they think they're king of the world. Okay? By the way, myself included sometimes in the past. The next requirement, and this is don't even consider doing scalping unless your risk management is absolutely flawless. And when I'm flawless, I don't mean 90%. I mean like 98%, right? You set it, you set your stop, and you're gone. And you don't let losses or anything get in the way of executing your plan. It requires a tremendous amount of discipline and patience. Let the trade play out, and whatever the outcome, you move on to the next. That's a very difficult requirement with, again, another psychological element that's being tested that you want to put in your development plan if you don't have the skill set. Next, best edge with trend-based products. All right. I have found, again, I love when people take the role and say, I don't believe in that, or I'm going to go against trend. You can scalp against the trend too. That's fine. But I just have found historically that they have a little better edge with trend-based products. So if you're in an underlying, say like maybe an FX pair or maybe the S&P futures that are trending, scalping tends to come a little easier. I'm not a big trend as your friend guy, but scalping, you get that little extra boost because there's just, for every 2 times it's going down, say, for every time it's going up twice, it's going down once. So these pullbacks create really good scalping opportunities. Okay. We just had a podcast aired Sunday with Boris Schlossberg from BK Forex. It's exactly what he said too. He said, right now, I'm not even thinking about shorts. Okay. I mean, I am, but I'm just scalping and hitting those pullbacks on longs only. When the markets change, I'll think differently. So I thought that was really cool. When I watched that, I went, oh, he just hit my third requirement. Okay. So the last part I want to talk about, and I want to get your feedback, is I haven't turned you off yet. Okay. So, and again, I love entrepreneurs who go against, the mindset and thinking. So of what I'm trying to say. So I love it. So bring it on. But if I haven't turned you off yet, what I'd like you to do this, or you want to sharpen your scalping skills, or you want to open the door up to maybe consider this. One, apply. And I put, for those on audio, apply in quotes, apply to be a scalper, right? You cannot just go in and start scalping. And I don't even mean demo. I mean, look at your trading and ask yourself, do I have that flawless risk management? Like 98% success, all right? So you apply to be a scalper, almost like you're working for a prop firm or something. And they're going to say, how is your risk management? And if it's not there yet, then not to close the door, but just to work on that, to get to be flawless. That gives you the right to try scalping, okay? When we talked about the risk management, again, 96% non-scalper compliance requirement. See where I'm going here? You have to earn the right to play this game. I'm using general numbers here, but the good thing about scalping is your risk is much lower per trade. None of this 1% max risk per trade. Okay, we're looking at 1/5 of 1%, right? As a max. Again, you're having a lot of trades, so over a day or a week, you're really looking for, your average gain and loss. Okay, you don't want a bad day of 10 scalps to like blow, 8% of your account. Doesn't work that way in scalping. And let me just see the last one. Okay. And the last one is trade only the market or markets that you know inside and out. One of the things I find that I bring to the table in scalping is I only trade one or two underlines, one of them being S&P futures. The reason is because not because I'm, using moving averages for trends, things like that. I just know that product inside and out. I know when the big boys probably going to start coming in and nibbling. I understand the chart patterns that are very unique to that product. I understand when the newbies are going to start coming in and getting long well after, the move's already happened. All right. Those are the things that go beyond indicators, beyond stochastics, stuff like that. I feel that provides at least a 5 to 7% edge in my trading, which quite honestly, that's the difference between, chugging along and actually making some consistent green out of scalping. Okay. So know that market inside and out. And again, if you're not there yet and you want to do this, put that on your development plan to try and do yourself to get there. The max risk per trade, it's got to be small, which also means you're not going to make a lot of money. But that's okay. You're going to, build the muscle, build the muscle. And if it's not working and scalping you find doesn't work for you, or you find your revenge trading, again, the compliance requirement, at least you can get out of this and with very little financial harm. Again, apply to be a scalper. These are all the things that you earn the right to have to do it. So when I hear people saying, well, I'm scalping and it's not working out for me, well, first thing I'm going to say is, what's your compliance rate? What's your max risk per trade? What's the product that you're trading? How long have you been following those charts? Okay. So there's a lot here. And if you notice the tone, contrary to a lot of the other types of discussions that we talk about where we're trying to encourage you, I'm kind of leaning a little negative, but I love entrepreneurs who say, no, I like this. I want to do this. I have a short-term comfort zone where sometimes like scalping, swing is just, it doesn't fit my style. Again, like the podcast we had on Sunday for Boris Schlossberg, and maybe Alex, we could put it in the notes and then the recording. It just fits his style, right? Swing was just too boring and too slow. And the Forex markets he mentioned were not having the volatility that was required for scalping. So, he moved to like an S&P product. Of course, that can change. So I want to wrap up, and I want to hear from the group, including Alex. What are your thoughts on this? Have you tried it, or are you currently doing it? And what seems to be the hurdles in having you get to the next level? And if you're just very successful and you do it every day, I want to hear about that too.
All right, so I hope you guys liked this video today. Hope that was useful for you. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Want to hear what you think of this, if you like it or not. What do you take away from it? And if you want me to give you more of these trainings here on YouTube for free, give a like to that video. I would really appreciate that. That would mean a lot to me. And don't forget to subscribe. I upload videos like this 3 times a week. One interview on Sundays, 2 videos a week where I teach you stuff about trading, some tips, some lessons, things you can apply to your own trading directly. And I'll catch you back here in the next video pretty soon. Ciao.